Hey everyone, today we're diving into Diablo 4 to talk about those must-have features that fans have been clamoring for. But that's not all. I'll be sharing some of my own unique ideas as well as some twists to enhance common wishlist items that could take the game to the next level. So stick around because I think I got some good ones in there. So alright, let's get the big one out of the way, the feature that tops pretty much all the wish lists, which is an armory or a wardrobe system. So what do I mean by this? We do need the ability to save our builds and switch between them with just a click. So we all spend a ton of time fine-tuning our setups, our gear, skill trees, paragon boards, make them just right. But what if your build is excellent for pushing the pit, but maybe it's incredibly slow for hell tides? Chances are you'd want to be able to switch to a speed farming variant easily without having to go through the back and forth, spending 20-30 minutes redoing your build. You get the idea. So check this out. I made a dirty little mock-up of what it could look like. I'm obviously not a graphic designer, but I did try to at least give you an idea of what it could look like. So you'll notice an import button at the top. You may not know this, but in World of Warcraft, you can now import your entire stat tree straight from a website like Maxroll or Wowhead, something like that. Imagine if you could click a button on a site and then come click a button in game and it would automatically paste a unique string that's created by the website and it'll import the build directly into the game without having to go back and forth between your monitors. Anyway, it'd be great if this was accessed right from your character screen and you could click a button and it would just change you into whatever build you chose from your saved builds. So second on the list is an idea I haven't really heard anyone mention before, but it's something I've thought about a lot when I'm experimenting with different builds, but the ability to pick and choose which stats would be displayed on the UI. So for example, maybe you want to keep an eye on your critical strike chance. Sure, you can open up your stat sheet and check it, but it's a hassle to keep that window open while you're in the heat of battle. So you can look and see what your static number is, but there's a lot of abilities and gear and things like that that will change your crit strike chance right in the middle of like battle. This could apply to any stat, attack speed, resource gen, barrier gen, max life, you name it. And then let's take it a step further. Imagine having your own personal DPS meter that's specific to the activity that you're running. So how cool would it be to do a pit run, have a meter show what your actual DPS is, and then you could jump out, tweak a couple things in your build, hop back in, and see how those changes affect your performance. It would make optimizing builds so much more interactive and efficient. I mean, it would be cool to share or compete with your party, but I'd be okay if it was just a personal meter, honestly. Alright, so next up, let's talk about another community requested feature. It's been talked about a lot, and this is an auction house or a trading post. So this one is a little bit more controversial. I've seen many valid arguments for and against having an in-game option for trading and selling items. So let's go about some of the arguments. How about for an auction house? So currently, the best way to trade items is through an external website called Diablo.trade. Now, while it's fairly easy to navigate, you have to leave the game to use it, and then you're at the mercy of whoever is buying or selling to log in and complete the trade. I personally have tried selling a couple items, and I got some great interest, but it was in the middle of the night, of course, and then I was ghosted by the time I could log back in. Never heard from him again. Ended up just, sitting on the item and rotting throughout the season. And really, anytime you're forced to leave a game to use an external resource, it's generally bad. I mean, I know I just referenced or suggested importing a build from a community site, so somewhat hypocritical there, but I don't know how you could put community builds in game more than at least just reducing it down to a button click or two. Anyway, so having an in-game auction house could theoretically add value to every item that you pick up. I can't tell you how many awesome items just rot in my stash until the end of the season just to be forgotten. So imagine you could list items for sale or trade and you'd get your gold, fairly quickly. But on the other hand, if you already have a Diablo.trade account and you've been using it, an official auction house might diminish the value of what you're trading because there will be more supply for the demand. So what are the arguments against adding an auction house? So many people point to the failed experiment of Diablo 3's real money auction house as a reason not to, but what if we just remove the real money aspect? Would it still be bad? I mean, the main concern I've heard from developers is that it could turn a get excited when loot drops game into a bought all my items at the auction house game. Honestly, it seems a bit dramatic, but typically if you give players the option to play how they want, get the gear in the way that they want, they're happier. So I kind of see both sides, but it would, you could fix that by making the solo self-found mode, and really that could just be a box you check when you're creating your character, and it disables trading, grouping, and then of course it would disable any future auction house. Boom, everyone wins. So I'm just spitballing here, but when Diablo 4 was announced as an MMO and we didn't have much information yet, I imagined in my head like a huge bustling main city with hundreds of players running around, showing off their gear, trading, forming groups, dueling, whatever. So what if we did take this one a step further, and instead of like just an auction house, like a guy you talk to in every single city, what if there was an entire instanced city that could host hundreds of players, like a hub specifically for buying and selling, and instead of accessing like an auction house through just one NPC, maybe it would be a zone with several vendors catering to the different markets. I don't know. Make it a little bit more interactive, a little bit more innovative. I don't know. Again, just spitballing here, but you could put maybe a dueling arena in the middle of it where people could watch people duel, maybe bet on the duels. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is that too much? Is that trying to be too much of an MMO or what? And before we move on, I'm really close to reaching my next milestone of 500 subscribers. So if you do like this video, consider dropping a like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. So all right, next up, I'd love to see more account-wide collectibles that carry over from season to season. Things to chase, things like mounts and good armor sets. And I'm not talking about just simple recolors of a horse or a cat that I'm never going to use. I'm envisioning like crazy glowing vicious spiders and bears and rhinos and whatever other creatures that inhabit the Diablo universe. Let's introduce collectible chase items that require grinding, maybe participating in underused activities, or even maybe just a bit of luck. But achievements for hitting certain milestones could unlock these rewards, like maybe you earn the super dope rhino mount for completing a pit level 100 in a certain season, and then an even crazier fire breathing purple glowing version for doing the a 125 pit, and so on and so forth. Accumulating certain amount of ether in an infernal horde maybe would grant you an awesome transmog. Like, again, not some forgettable skin, but something that makes people say, oh dang, look at that dude, he got 1500 aether in one run to get that thing. I don't know, give players a reason to push certain activities, something to chase when you kind of get bored. I'd love to hear your ideas, so go ahead and post them. And with all that being said, I do have to mention leaderboards. They've already removed the gauntlet as a failed experiment, so there's currently no type of leaderboards for players to chase, but I almost guarantee they're at the very least working on something. Now, the pit seems like an almost perfect design for leaderboards. It's similar to Greater Rifts in Diablo 3, so if they made some tweaks to make the pit a little bit more strategy based rather than strictly gear based, it would greatly benefit the blaster community. And I'm talking about the folks who always run out of stuff to do because they play all day. So I do think that they'll add some sort of leaderboard to the pit, so we'll see what they come up with, but I do believe it's important to have a separate board for each class like they did in Diablo 3, so this would help alleviate the outrage over super overpowered classes. You see a lot of people talking right now about all the classes are obsolete because of the Spiritborn being so OP, and yes, the Spiritborn is miles ahead of the other classes this season, but if there were, say, like a druid leaderboard, it would give those druid enjoyers something to strive for instead of feeling like they should just be playing Spiritborn because they're just so much better. Alright, so let's move on and finally talk about the cow level. The cow level has been infamous in Diablo games since the days of Diablo 1. There were rumors back then about its existence, and Blizzard actually added one when they released Diablo 2, and then they followed up with another version in Diablo 3, and then they've left a bunch of breadcrumb hints about its existence in Diablo 4, with even more clues being unlocked very recently. Now, when they do finally add it, and I really do think that they will, I don't believe it should be something that everyone can access anytime that drops the best loot all the time. Otherwise, we just run it over and over and over and get real sick of it, and that's the only thing that anyone would want to do. But I also don't think that it should be some super time-gated event that only the true blasters can enjoy as well. So I imagine it, once it is unlocked, maybe it's unlocked by the community as a whole or something like that, but as something that's either a random event that can spawn from monsters in the open world, or something that maybe you collect pieces from all the different activities and you can assemble your own portal. Crazy mount chances, unique armor sets, maybe 100% chance at a mythic unique, so on and so forth. I want to feel some blood flow when you finally get to enter, if you know what I'm saying. And along those same lines, I do think they need to juice up the treasure goblins a little bit. Give us different versions that drop boatloads of various materials, runes, obols, opals, open portals to treasure rooms, a little bit more Diablo 3-ish. So like imagine a scenario where you defeat one and it leads you to a place and you go in and it's like maybe it's an infernal horde, but instead there's 30 infernal butchers in there that you have to kill, or 5 Durials that you would have to try to take down all at one time. Or let's get crazy with it. What if it would take us to like old events from previous games, like some sort of dream event where they've recreated the Diablo fight from Diablo 1, like Timewalking in Diablo, anyone? I mean, this could be a separate idea all on its own, but let's get creative and crazy with it. I mean, let's make some fun out of it. All right, so before I speed run through a bunch of similar adjustments that need attention, the last big change that I'd like to see in Season 7 is something done with PvP. PvP added so much longevity to the seasons in Diablo 2. Different builds, unique gear, evolving metas, tight-knit communities, you name it. I remember the old clan gimme item days fondly, and I know this is not advertised as a PvP game, but it could be. And I haven't really fully cooked up on it, ideas on how to make this work, but maybe introducing some sort of an arena style system where you can queue up for like a 1v1, 2v2, 4v4. Maybe other people could watch the battles somehow. That might be the answer, I don't know. But adjustments could be made to eliminate, one-shots, and have some sort of a separate balance from PvE, kind of like they've done in World of Warcraft at times. So I think the concept of the PvP zones was a very good start, but they need to give it more attention. And I do understand that it's a tall order for sure. All right, so let's speed run through some of the adjustments that I'd like to see to the existing features and wrap this up. So bosses are the hardest content and should drop the best loot, but we need other places to get high quality gear. Farming bosses over and over and over can get really tedious. Now, many of you might not reach this point because there is good variety in the game, but for the blasters out there, this is a real issue. How about greater affix items, especially those with more than one GA on specifically uniques? They need to stop rolling with crappy aspects or rolls at the bottom. Nothing is worse than getting, say, and this hasn't happened to me, but if I got a 4 GA item and the stat on the bottom was like the minimum roll and you just can't even use it, that's a season ender for me. Anyway, I'd like to see quicker adjustments to underperforming specs. I'm not sure how easy it is to tweak numbers and percentages, but why can't they make faster changes to buff underperforming builds? I hate to keep referencing World of Warcraft, but they've gotten a lot better at this. You could start a new expansion or season and a week in the entire meta shift, another week or two shifted again. We've seen it this year. Increase the multipliers, glyphs, socket, I don't know. Tune it up, make adjustment. All right, tempering. For the love of Deckard's beard, make it so items cannot be bricked. Blizzard gave us the Scroll of Restoration in Season 6, but it can only be used once on any given item. Why the heck do you put a cap on how many times they can be used, especially when their really good GA items are so hard to come by? Bricking an item is also a season killer, and I have actually a friend, it happened to him, Alt F4'd, uninstalled, might be a few seasons before they're back. Anyway, a few more things like adjustments to maxing out aspects, or at least more intuitive way to understanding on how it works past rank 16 or whatever it is. Maybe they need to add some more Infernal Horde variety in terms of Banes and Boons. We could cook up a whole bunch of ideas, but that'd be a whole separate video. But things, instead of just granting more ether, like give us some cool power-ups or something, I don't know. I'd like to see the rewards in Nightmare Dungeons increased a little bit, so there's a reason to go in there. And give us some fun and unique seasonal event and the holiday events. I mean, this Halloween one was just a joke. I know that the last couple of seasons, the theme was basically just the fact that they redid the systems, but I think they're in a spot now that they can actually going back to having something fun. Like, remember season, I think it was 2 with the vampiric season? That was sick. Let's do something like that again. So anyway, that wraps it up for today. Let me know what you like or you don't like in the comments. If you have any other good ideas or you want to twist up something that I had said, absolutely, let's hear it. And if you enjoyed the video, drop me a like and subscribe. Thanks.